As you were developing the screenplay to tell the story, what historical context provided the greatest guidance in building the narrative structure?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. I think the main thing is that this revolt, this uprising, is probably one of, for Palestinians, the most significant moment in our history and the beginning of the national struggle for independence, of, in an organized way. Um, and in many ways, it really indicated what was capable through organization, through, this revolt was spontaneous. There had been other revolts before in sort of smaller scale, but this one spread, and it was just a people who had had enough, and they rose up, and there was success in it. There was success, and it's why the British had to take it to another level and crush it, so brutally.
Yeah. In your research, what did you uncover that startled you the most? And how did you weave that circumstance into your story?
Um, the thing that startled me the most was the violence of the British mandate. And it was an interesting, I don't like graphic violence in films. I don't like to, do scenes of violence. And that was it was important to honor that history and past and talk about it.
Right.
But it was very daunting, and it was, for me to think about how to get that across without also being, too graphic, or, gratuitous, or whatever. These are important things for me as a filmmaker, and I feel that people really can feel things without having to see the details of it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
When working with modern actors to tell the story of the past, what direction and information did you have to provide as writer-director to get the proper amount of performance gravitas in the circumstances you're depicting?
Mm, nice. I think for each actor it was different. For the British actors, especially the two younger men, Rob Arameo and Billy Howell, they didn't really have much of a background when
Hmm.
into the project. Um, and for the Palestinian actors as well, I provided a lot of, because I was, had done so much research. I
Right.
provided in a very succinct way, just a lot of things for them to read, books and essays, but I didn't want to overwhelm them, but just so they could,
Right.
for their own characters, sort of plug into, for Emir in Jerusalem, like what was political life, social life in Jerusalem. For the British guys, what was the relationship with the, the British that were in Palestine with the indigenous population. So I think it was like providing a lot of stuff, and then doing stuff, having them, do whatever it was, military training or horseback riding or typewriting, or, everybody, or dancing, swing dancing, lesson, cotton picking. The villagers had to learn how to, we don't pick cotton anymore. Nobody knows how to,
Right.
these are the things. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot to consider. Um, to go a little deeper, the British performers had to portray colonizers and the literal heel on the neck of the Palestinians. What types of discussions did you have with those actors as to the relevance of their history as occupiers and colonizers?
So I didn't have to talk much with Liam Cunningham because Liam is Irish. So Liam said, I know this story, and we know it really well, and we live the story.
Yeah,
And also we lived it longer. He said, you had the British for like a few decades. We had the British for, 700 years.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Liam was okay. The British guys, I mean, it was, it was important. And let's specifically talk about Wingate. Rob Arameo plays Wingate. He was really an interesting and scary figure for Palestinians. And but we had to do it in a way, like, to find what was about it that Rob could defend, that violence, that, what is that, what was Wingate, and he believed he was on a divine mission. He believed it was his, like, he had all sorts of things, and it was sort of trying to access those things in a way that made sense for Rob. for Thomas, who Billy Howell plays, it's, it was, he was in a way living his own experience because he came to the project without knowing much, and
Hmm.
then was traveling on his own and meeting people on his own and figuring out things. And he changed tremendously. So, a lot of that preparation for him and like, what is it to be a colonizer? I think he was really shocked how little he knew, and that
Yeah,
upset him, that how this was left out of his education. And
there's
he,
so much left out of everybody's education.
yeah.
In the 90 years since 1936, the Palestinian people have had a constant wolf at their door and different variations provided by opposition justifications. What spirit of your people did you want to communicate given those sorrowful attacks in the telling of this early history?
I really celebrate my people. I really celebrate their resilience, and I honor that, and I celebrate that. And I didn't, I don't want to make a film about how we are victims and we are poor victims, like, and destroyed. We are not destroyed. We have had, we have been wronged, but we are not destroyed. And that was for me a very, very important to have in the film, that feeling that we are active, and we have resisted, and we still do, and we live, and we insist to live, and we insist, we fight for that.
It's so rough. Okay. The production was arduous and was stopped and started several times due to current geopolitics. What did the opposition to this story know about what you were doing, and was that the cause of the shutdowns?
No, I mean, the shutdowns and shoot. Well, yes, actually, yes and no. The main
Okay,
shutdown was the fact that after October 7th, there was a complete lockdown in the West Bank. Genocide begun in Gaza. West Bank was locked down. It was like impossible to move. We were prevented and forbidden from doing everything, but not just us as filmmakers, everybody.
right.
So it wasn't specific to us. Before that, we had also, because it's we live under military occupation, daily on location scouts. We were visiting, the village, the different places. We were, stopped at checkpoints. Sometimes crew was, detained. Sometimes they were allowed to pass. It was, every day was different. It depends on the mood of the soldier at the checkpoint, really. Um, so that was that. After we finished shooting and now we're screening the film has been prevented by the Israeli authorities from screening in Jerusalem. That's specifically about the film, whereas everything else was just the daily life of all Palestinians.
Yeah, yeah. The atmosphere you created had an inherent authenticity. What was most difficult in recreating another era, and what was behind your decision to use and colorize the actual newsreel footage from the era?
It's authenticity, all the details. I feel a tremendous responsibility that, there has never been a film, about from the, about the 30s, from Palestinians. So I felt responsible that, we have to get it right,
Sure.
and all those details and the costume and the props and this and that. And also we live amongst it in a way. It looks like parts of my grandmother's house or things that my grandmother,
Hmm.
kept, whatever. It's for the costume designer the same, for the production designer the same. It's very, tangible to us, and you also realize it's not that long ago in some way.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, and then, but also, we're free. We're doing fiction, so we believe in that freedom and poetic license. And there are moments of poetic license in the film, in the story, for sure.
Right. But I did not detect any, anachronism or anything. Um, what film in your career did you learn the most as a cinema artist and storyteller, and how is that reflected in the structure and energy of Palestine 36?
That's a really hard question. There's so many. I've made
Yeah.
so
It,
many films, yeah, that have affected me, and I think a lot about films that are very specifically about, uprisings or revolt. I think about Battle of Algiers. I think about The Wind That Shakes the Barley. There are many, many, many films I could think of. In terms of structure, there was a film called Before the Rain in the 90s, Macedonian film that really had a big impact on me. And I thought a lot about that structure when I was writing. My film is very different in terms of structure, but it was something I was I thought about a lot.
Hmm.
And I wanted to break out of doing the standard thing of, just having the hero character from beginning to end. I didn't want the hero. I didn't want no hero. I wanted it's a story about a mass uprising, and it's a group of people and how everybody was affected by this moment. And so the main character is not actually anybody. It's really this feeling and the land and this, moment. The moment is the main character for me.
Well, I was actually talking about your filmography as far as your development was concerned.
Oh.
Did you have a specific film that where you learned so much about yourself as a cinema artist and storyteller that everything going forward has this stamp of what you learned? And that was essentially my question.
Yeah. Well, in that case, I would say my first feature, Salt of the Sea.
Okay.
Which, was another film where it felt, I said at that time, this is the most difficult project and everything, the odds were all against us. And it was by some miracle that we were able to finish it. And I think that has always remained with me, is that now, because we did it, now there's no saying no to anything. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. We can figure everything out. It might kill us, but we can figure it out, So, yeah.
Well, both answers are beautiful, so thank you.
Thank you.
This is my final question. With war breaking out all over the Middle East once again, and the United States conducting their own invasion, what light of hope can all of us cling to? And how, as individuals, can we contribute beyond war, death, and destruction?
Yeah, these are very dark times.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. I don't, I was talking to my father the other day, was, born in 36. And I just thought, he has just lived so many wars. He has never, and here he is in his, final years, and it's still, when does it stop? I think that, I really have, I have hope in all that darkness. And I feel like the films, the things that we do them and we connect with an audience, we connect with people. And those connections are really threatening to people in power. That is the most threatening thing to people in power, that we actually connect to each other. But Palestine 36 being released in the US now, it's like, in a way, the timing is so important. It's, Palestinian voices have always sort of been, marginalized in the US and left out, and now so many other voices as well. I mean, right now, this is like the time of any voice of dissent, any voice of criticism, anybody is, left out. We have to find each other. We have to find each other. We have to connect. We have to see what it is that, we have between us. And this film was made with such pain and such difficulty, and the crew kept going. The cast, we just kept going. We kept going. We want to make this film. We're going to make this film. And so now the film exists, and it's yours. It's the offering. And, I think it's a testament. It's really a testament to, what people can do in the worst times.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2026.